What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you are all doing well today. I did not plan for this podcast episode, but the guys in the Discord said, "Yo, the new announcements for Bushiroad would make a great podcast episode." I'm like, you know what? That's right. Actually, it would. Let's fucking go. So we have No Soup for You too.
What up? How's it going?
Hell yeah. We got Space Cowboy. How is it going, man?
Hi.
How's your games going?
I'm 2-0 right now at local, so that means after this call, I'm going to get fucked.
I got you. Best of luck. Use as much lube as possible. Yeah, so it was a Bushiroad conference thingy, typical 15-minute episode video and everything, and with a ton of different announcements, everything from new sets that got announced, Banlist update, major, and some other like interesting little changes we're going to go over first, but just figured to get everybody's thoughts on it as well, try to, since people had opinions, and a lot of us have very, very nice opinions on this. Especially once we get to the ban list. I may save that one for last, because I feel that's going to be the one we yap about the most.
Yeah.
Oh, regional info. Yeah. That's another big one.
That one's good. Are we going to have the graphics up on the screen, by the way?
Yes, I'm going to pull each of those up, because I'm going to have that for reference.
I should also pull that up for reference.
Yeah. For anyone who wants to see this lovely information, feel free to check the description for a link to our Discord. We have a little Weiss News section that updates as stuff comes out. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into this. I'm going to pull up the first thing. I just wanted to highlight really quick, because it's something they didn't cover in the video, was a notice of the changes to the booster packs. Basically, like the number of boxes per case, the number of packs per box, eliminating like Climax Commons altogether is something that's been in JP for a minute and we knew was going to eventually happen. But they're saying specifications for this will be changed from November 2024. So that is still a little ways out. I thought they had already done some adjustments to some boxes, other than just the layout being from like a standing up to kind of a flat box. I thought they had already changed.
Yes,
something.
I can't tell you off the top of my head. I would have to go look at it. I guess in the comment section wants to remind me about this.
More than likely.
When they changed from the standing up boxes to the flat boxes, I believe they also changed the pack structure.
So for the cases, so the number of packs per case is going to be the exact same overall, but the number of boxes is increasing from 18 to 24 boxes per case. Then for the boxes themselves, what it currently is 16 packs, but it's going to go to 12 packs. And I don't have the price differences. I'm going to say the packs number as well. But I don't remember what the price change is supposed to be. Basically, the box is supposed to be like cheaper overall.
Yes, I believe, if I recall people telling me about this.
It might be in the Weiss News section, and
it might be in the actual news. I actually know, because I don't think there's really a specific MSRP. They don't really give those anymore.
I think it was in yen.
Normal Weiss box.
Yeah,
it was in yen. A normal Weiss box in English is about 70 or 75.
Yeah.
So a reduction
I think about
of
50.
those.
Like the new box is like 50-ish.
A reduction of those 4 packs is going to be to about like a 50 or a 55.
Yeah.
Even with the one less card in there, it's like it was one less common. It's whatever.
Yeah. That was 9 cards going to 8 per pack.
The case, it's still the same number of packs per case at 288 packs.
Yep.
So the case price is going to remain the same. There's going to be more boxes, so a drop-off in box price, but the case price is going to remain the same.
Which hopefully ends up being a little bit better, considering this is something else we were kind of discussing before recording, was back in the old days, so to speak, where you would have double rares and whatnot that like had a good price tag to it. Nowadays, depending on the set, you don't really see that much anymore. At least for me personally,
yes.
For the sets that I'm interested in, I mostly just grab singles unless I'm like, yo, it'd be cool to pop this open for a video. Like, that's basically the only reason I get boxes.
So what I was told from some of my JP friends is how this kind of works out. This change is not really going to sort of affect some of the prices, because I think some of like the double R ratios don't really change.
Yeah.
What this affects, though, is the SP ratios, because there's still like, so like you have a set that has 3 SPs per case, right? That's still going to remain because there's more boxes in a case. There's less chance to pull an SP per box because of the increase of boxes. So if you're a box buyer, it lowers the chance of pulling an SP. So this really only kind of breaks even for the case buyers and sort of more incentivizes that. But then it's also a cheaper barrier of entry because of the lower box price.
Gotcha players still be like, those odds are still pretty good. Interesting changes for that later in the year. And we can kind of point out some of the sets that are probably going to be hit by that with the upcoming release schedule. At least one of those I see on here. So going to... so Freerin is going to be one of those.
Yes, I believe Freerin was... It was either Freerin or Bunny Girl Set 3, and it might have been Freerin. I think that was the first JP set that had that box change as well. So that would coincide, I guess, with the English release of Freerin. Spoilers.
Yeah. So Freerin... So obviously a couple sets they gave specific dates. I don't think Dengeki Bunko had a date before this. I cannot recall.
It did. It was October.
It did say October? Okay.
Yes.
The Marvel stuff is just for, like, the Asia stuff. So
don't remind me about that. Yes.
So, yeah. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, obviously, with Stardust Crusaders and Stone Ocean. Shout out to Desmond in the Discord. So I know he's already bought the JP stuff. He said, I'm going to have to buy
I also, as someone that also bought a bunch of JP stuff back in January, I was a little kind of sad about that, and I might skip the English release, but...
Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live. That is also going to be in November, so that is probably going to be under the new format as well for the boxes, so that's probably going to be the first thing that gets done for that, and then from there on.
It might be. What is the date that they said for the box change?
The box change, it just says November 2024.
Okay, because looking at the product schedule right here, School Idol Festival 2 on November 8th, that was the furthest that we had before the stream.
Got you.
Freerin is released
November
11/22.
Yeah.
So that would make sense if that being the first set in JP was also our first set in English that had it, and then they wouldn't change the Love Live ratios since that's probably been set in stone for a few months at this point. I guess we'll have to see as we get a little bit closer.
Yeah, no, so that's going to be something to keep an eye out for all the Love Live fans. Shout out to Joe. Can't wait for him to get back into buying boxes.
Yeah, I need to go back and pay attention to Love Live myself. I just bought Sunshine in JP. And my friends got me to watch Nijigasaki, which has tempted me to build some decks from that set.
I need to catch up on
it. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. Do we want to move on to talking about the future releases, though, since we're on the product schedule at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
And we mentioned Freerin a few times.
We said Freerin, obviously, and obviously the next one is going to be... This kind of took me by surprise, because I grew up watching some of this. Macross Delta.
I'm also very surprised by this. So Freerin we kind of sort of knew before the stream.
Everyone was asking for it constantly. There's no way I didn't see it happening.
Well, that and at Anime Expo last weekend, I think it was, at this point when we're recording this, Bushiroad had English Weiss Schwarz Freerin posters around their booth.
I saw stuff displayed for that. I saw people sharing pictures. I think Lunchbox.
Yes, Lunchbox sharing pictures. The general Weiss Discord was sharing pictures. That kind of got figured out.
Awesome.
Macross was a bit of surprise. I was actually very surprised, and Joker's not here.
Yeah.
To confirm this, but all before the stream, I was checking in because normally intern Matt drops some hints about set releases.
Ooh.
And including they'll do the kind of the coded ones about what the sets are. He'll give the hints.
Mm-hmm.
He only gave hints for the ban list. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's gonna be spicy.
Freerin and another set we'll talk about in a second. We already knew beforehand we're coming to English. We only got 3 new set announcements. That third one being Macross, which I remember watching. I remember watching Robotech on Toonami. I remember watching the Macross 2 movie on Stars Action.
Oh my god, that's
I also remember all of
the.
I also remember all of the legal drama that Macross has been in, and I guess now that has subsided a bit,
Like, we could
Macross
finally
is back.
branch out and do stuff.
Yeah, and like Macross has an older Weiss set, I believe, too, like an old one, and Delta was sort of like a building on that.
On the JP side, for anybody listening who's
Yeah,
like, wait, what? Yeah.
on the JP side, but
Yeah.
that we're getting it in English is it's not, it wasn't on my bingo card,
No,
or at least
not
it
at
wasn't
all.
very high up on my bingo card. I had Uma Musume, I had Quince, I had Bunny Girl, I had Heaven's Burn Red probably before this.
Yeah, I think people have been saying like Heaven's Bird Red would be like a very interesting one to bring over.
Well, because it's the mobile game is coming
Yeah.
out in English and it's getting a set too, so it's like, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rurouni Kenshin just got their reveals. There was a bunch of other sort of JP releases. But Frieren, Macross, and the other set to talk about
Yeah,
are
was
3 announcements. And Macross, it's a pleasant surprise. It's a really cool deck.
was Nikkei on your bingo card by any chance? Because it sure as fuck won't on mine.
Nikkei was on the bingo card only because I stayed up until 3 a.m. watching the Japanese stream. When on the Japanese stream they made the announcement that Nikkei was going to come to Japanese, English, China, and somewhere else. Like they already announced that it was coming to English on the Japanese side. So that we already knew that was
okay.
We already knew that was coming in beforehand.
I did not know. I did not watch that particular thing then.
Yeah.
So okay.
And that, I believe, was already had a set in stone date of April 24th, I believe.
Yeah, like, it doesn't say the exact date on this infographic that they posted, but it does say April of next year, which is just really far out. But I'm assuming if they're doing all regions, that's probably like obviously that's probably going to be taking all the other regions into account.
Yeah, and Japanese has their sets sort of planned out way ahead of ours at this point.
Yeah.
We have our sets now planned out until December, I believe, at this point.
So in JP, there's a whole bunch of stuff ahead of it that they couldn't put, obviously, give it to us sooner in English than they could JP type. It's probably going to be...
Yeah, so it's pushed out ahead of us a bit more because it needs to give JP time for their other releases, which then this also means that probably by the end of the year, we'll get another product announcement with some more releases that will kind of fill in the gap going into 2025, and kind of just filling out my bingo card. That Quintuplets has a set, Bunny Girl has a set, all the stuff that we have in English. Rurouni Kenshin just finished up their reveals. Uma Musume has been a popular pick. Heaven's Bird Red has been kind of a sneaky pick that we might be able to get.
So we get a lot of stuff that could fill out the beginning of that year of 2025 before Nikkei. Very easily get a bunch of that.
And because we got some information on the JP stream about a future JP release of Fujimi Fantasia Bunko 2 and ReZero Set 3. Those at that point could also be in contention. JP will probably have those sets at that point, and then it will be far enough out for us that we should be able to get those over here, because we've had ReZero for a very long time. It's kind of been out of the game for a few years, and Fujimi Fantasia Bunko had a rather infamous release because it was sort of that post-COVID lockdown era.
Let's say that's what I was trying to remember exactly.
But that's become a very infamous set, which if they do a set 2 would also open up a set 1 reprint and maybe give access to some of the properties that are sort of within that light novel company.
Here's hoping be able to get a whole bunch of different stuff. Which is it Dengeki? Is it Dengeki or Fantasia that has Shana?
Dengeki.
Dengeki has Shana. Okay.
Yeah, so for the upcoming releases, we have the Shana Premium Booster in 1 week as of this recording.
Yeah.
Which
the day after my birthday. Funny enough.
So, it's actually kind of like the week before mine. So
hell yeah.
And that Premium Booster is actually, I think, going to be one of the stronger releases.
It
for
looked
the rest
very
of the
interesting.
Year.
We can talk. Did a thing.
Yeah, we can talk more about that when we get to the ban list, because that's going to affect sort of the meta. But that Shana build, which I have my Shana sleeves that I ordered right across the table, because I have nostalgia for dollar store max protection Shotgun no Shana sleeves for some reason.
I just have nostalgia for Shana in general. That's something I watch.
I haven't thought about Shana in a hot second, but
I gotta go
that set I think is going to be a really sneaky thing going forward. We'll talk more about it on the ban list. And Bunko also has some Shauna tools in there.
That's what I'm assuming.
That can kind of, you can shake up the core a little bit if you so choose to. Plus everything else that Dengeki also offers in there with like Sao and all them whatnot. Plus you just play Dengeki like as it's its own set at that point. But we can talk more about that when we get to the ban list section and sort of the meta going forward. But that's some of the other.
I haven't looked into the Bunko set as much. Like, obviously, I do like the first impressions videos and stuff like that. But because of how far it's been pushed out, I haven't actually gone to record anything just yet. So I'm like, I think this has other stuff. So I haven't looked into that just yet for what supports there.
So I actually was looking at this literally just last week because of like, hey, Shauna's coming up. What my friends told me, because I have a lot of friends that know JP a lot more than I do, was that Bunko had a good portion of the Shauna deck. And I was like, okay, well, let me go look and see what I need from Premium Booster and what I need from Dengeki to figure out what I'm going to order, right? The meta Shauna build is mostly built from the Premium Booster. The Dengeki build, because Dengeki, they only kind of give most of the properties in Dengeki because there's like 30 different properties that only get like a handful of cards, right? Yeah. There's a few Shauna cards in there that you could run, but the core of the deck is in Premium. So it's like you have another combo option and a few other tech options in Dengeki for Shauna. But Dengeki sort of offers sort of a lot more than just being a supplemental set for Shauna. Which then, because I was doing a lot of driving last weekend, so I was trying to catch up on some of the videos. There's a lot of different sort of like bar builds, pants builds. There's a really interesting standby build that you can do.
Oh no!
But don't
say less, man.
Yeah, but I don't know how large of an effect that set is actually going to have on the meta. I had an impression when it got released in JP, because a lot of people were very excited for it, that it was going to have this like huge meta impact, and I kept hearing about people sort of playing Dengeki on the meta. But then like I stopped hearing about it, and apparently kind of like falls off of some of the other releases that we've already gotten since then.
Which is
with like
interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's going to sort of be like a really cool, sneaky, fun set. But again, we can kind of get to this later when we talk about the ban list with the meta impact. I don't know if it's going to have sort of a very relevant meta impact. But this is Weiss Schwarz. Yeah. This is a game where any deck can win and any deck can lose. And with how the ban list goes, the meta is a lot more wide open.
Absolutely. And it looks like Cowboy had to dip out for now, but that is totally cool. I told him he can come back in, obviously, at any point.
Yeah, because he's got to do his Friday night locals.
We're like, hey, bro, we're going to be doing this. He's like, I'm going to hop in between games. And I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. So I guess it's just you and me.
It's all good, brother.
So
we'll get to the releases in a second here. Not the releases, the regionals and everything.
The regionals, yeah. So let's go to we got the releases, we got the pack change. One more thing that they said as well. One more announcement.
You're good.
Normally when a set's released,
that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Any official Bushiroad event, there was a 2-week window between including regionals as well as shop challenges.
Yep.
They changed that to 1 week, probably to give. Make that a little bit more clear, and also still give people time to get their stuff together.
We called this the Bare Naked Ladies Clause, but that's whatever.
Sorry. Yeah, right.
Sorry. But yeah, I have
lordy.
Yeah, lordy. But
lordy.
I got that on screen, so yeah, they have officially changed that, which is going to be kind of crazy for certain sets. I feel that would be very interesting for certain sets, because that's something we've always had to take into account.
Yeah, I think it's I'm fine with it. I'm not super opinionated about it. It's just one of those things where I remember specifically, I think there was a shop challenge going on, and Slime just released with Murin. Yeah. So hey, here's this really huge meta deck. But there was before Alice got hit. And it was illegal for the shop challenge, and I think some of the regionals around that time. And regionals is kind of a whole other story depending on the area. I remember you did a video about that, and I thought that was fascinating. With some of the European stuff that's not allowed.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things where if you have a set release and a regional that's 2 weeks apart, now you're able to sort of play that set at the regional, so you kind of need to know what you're going to be facing going in.
Absolutely.
I think this is still a really good change, though, honestly, because
Yeah.
it's like 2 weeks was sort of a really weird kind of time frame anyway.
Like, I was willing to rock with it, but I'm all down for them shortening the time. And obviously, this is, like you stated before, it's going to be pending depending on availability of the licenses in different countries and whatnot. So as that comes closer and we like more information gets posted for that, I will try to keep on top of that better than I have in years past, and try to like kind of advertise that sooner than when the information comes up.
This is Weiss Schwarz. This is a Japanese card game.
Yeah.
We have Benefit of Clairvoyance EX, so there is plenty of resources and information sort of out there for players in the know to sort of not be caught off guard.
Shout outs to the FGO players out there. So we got
we're all waiting for summer. We're all stuffed in our Arkwood and we're waiting for summer at this point.
I'm waiting for
out of St. Quartz.
I'm waiting for summer, Scotty, brother. I had to hold off on Arkwood.
I got Arkwood, but I have enough still for Scotty, Ibuki, Lady Avalon, and like I'm like all my
I don't know what I'm gonna do about Lady Avalon. I'll be real.
This summer I'm excited about this summer. Next summer is the one that's gonna kill me, but now we're super tangential. Oh hey,
who is
Joker?
A surprise guest, Joker.
Surprise guest star Joker. Where's the Persona 5 Mona transition?
For real.
Looking cool, Joker.
Cool.
What's up, brother?
Oh, not much.
So Joker, to catch you up and to give you the recaps and keep going forward. We talked about the English release schedule. We talked about the tournament structure changes. And we talked about what did we talk about?
We are currently on the dates have been posted. At least what we believe are going to be the dates, because apparently there was an issue with the website very shortly after this got posted. So
the website crashed, but it got posted on the thing. The dates posted for regionals.
Okay.
Go.
You're good. So the big one for me personally is Duluth, Georgia in November. I plan to go to that 100%. So. That is me personally. For anybody else interested, let's see.
I believe that's where special guest star Joker and fellow channel contributor that also is off cocking around at locals at the moment, Space Cowboy, had their recent top 8 showing at Team League, so they can go back and reclaim their titles in Georgia.
Exactly.
I am personally
pocket change.
Yeah, I am personally excited that the New York regionals got moved to Philly. I moved out of the Philly area, unfortunately, but that is a much better drive for me, and I still have family in the area, so I can just kind of go visit them and wander up to the Philly regionals. There is no White Plains, there is no Secaucus, there is no Rochester. Remember that year? And oh lordy, do I remember the Newark, New Jersey year where we were at the crackhead McDonald's afterwards, going out of that airport. Oh my God, none of that. We are in Philly. This is a venue that a lot of my other card game friends know, where it's like, hey, I recognize this from Force of Will. Hey, I recognize this from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's in the exact same room as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional. So they,
shit, okay.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Awesome.
They know what they're doing. So I'm excited about that, and because also East Coast bias. Apparently, something new this year is that there is a regional down in Tampa, Florida.
Is that
my grandma just moved?
Yeah, which you just moved out of. So, but that's still East Coast. That's normally not a.
Yeah.
There's some different locations this year.
Which I have family down in Florida. That's actually plausible for me too.
Yeah, I was actually just down in Florida a few months ago for WeCross Nationals, basically.
Oh snap!
Third place, by the way.
Yeah.
But third place, by the way. But yeah.
Third place, first place, Midland player.
First place, Midland player. Third place overall. Go check out the assist line, who was formerly 3-6 cancel for that interview. Link is probably knocking down in the description below, but just Google it.
If you send me the link, I'll post it in the description. You're good.
I can do it. But
hell yeah.
It's a really good interview. I enjoyed it. I had a great time, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
but I am personally very, very excited. One of my goals this year, the Virginia guys were talking about are Weiss goals for this year. I wanted to get back into doing regional tournaments. I
Same.
used to do them for Vanguard, for Weiss, for Buddy Fight. I did one Luck and Logic one, like the one Luck and Logic regional. That was really fun actually. Because it was like, hey, this is the one last time I get to play this game. I used to do it all the way up until the COVID shutdown, and I have not gone to a Bushiroad regional since then. And that was my goal for this year. And it being in Philly is like, I'm so happy that I get to go to a regional this year. Have a great time.
Yeah. I haven't been able to go back to one since COVID, obviously, because COVID shut everything down anyway. But even after that, because of my job with the work schedule, I just have not been able to. But that is going to change this year.
Yeah, no, same with me. Like since COVID, I think I've moved 3 times, including one buying a house. Just like moved from Delaware to Virginia, one end of Virginia to the other end of Virginia while my house is being built, and then out of that apartment into my house, and then oops, I have to go pay off a house now. I have a mortgage, so like I don't have money for anything.
Good luck with that.
So yeah, right. So traveling to regionals has been very hard. Even that Florida regional that I went to for another game, was like a super last minute thing that my friend had to come and kidnap me for, and we drove down to Florida, and it's like, look, he saved my ass on this one. It being in Philadelphia, December, so it's like it's a little weird because it's around holiday time, but it's not like so close to Christmas, that it's inconvenient.
December
and because
14th
it's
to the 15th.
Yeah, the 14th and 15th. I do, however, want to find out what the event schedule is going to be.
Same.
Because what I've seen on some other game Discords, it's going to be Vanguard Standard, Vanguard Premium, Weiss, and Shadowverse, of which me and some of my other friends like to double up on games. This wasn't always an issue where like they would pin Weiss and Vanguard Standard up on the same day, and it's like I have to pick one or the other, and most of the time it was Weiss.
Yeah, that's fair.
So and then like I know Joker plays Shadowverse. He probably want to go check out Shadowverse regionals.
At some point.
Yeah, unless that's paired up at the same time as Weiss. So like, I guess we'll have to see. That's sort of what I'm waiting for, is what day stuff's going to be on. But that'll probably get revealed as we get closer.
I gotcha. Speaking of inconvenience, I noticed under the Europe ones, Bulgaria is not up here. Interesting. I have a video coming out on
interesting.
that soon.
Yeah. I remember that video, and I thought that was fascinating.
I was like,
They do tend to add more as they go.
Yeah.
I do remember years past when they did the initial release, they would not put New York on there.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, because it's like, hey, there's no New York regionals. They would add it on later, probably because they have to finalize where the venue is going to be.
That's fair.
Because like New York, there's been like 4 different venues between Jersey, upstate New York, in the city, that stuff, right? And they have to kind of just like finalize some stuff with like dates and everything too. So there might be more added. This is not like a finalized list.
We might see Bulgaria. We might not. Like I said, tune in for future videos of.
Shout out to our Bulgarian players and whatever's going on over there.
Shout outs to Captain Ravioli.
Yup, Chainsaw Man and Batman Ninja. Let's go.
But
I think it's like Taiwan. They're still playing like Madoka Magica as like meta. It was like Madoka Magica, and then they got like some like modern set like as like a release or something weird. I have to go back and do some research.
We will have to, as Uncle said from Jackie Chan Adventures, do research. So to go to progress things, I am full of like fucking references, but to progress onwards, we also probably the biggest thing that I was going to do a singular video on, and Joker said no, you need to do a podcast episode on this. Yeah, we did.
Let's get it out of the way, because here comes the yapping, here comes the rant, and
everybody.
Here comes the theory.
We're gonna try to give everybody their own like time slot to talk about stuff as to what they get their opinions out there. If Cowboy comes back in, obviously he's more than welcome to air his grievances as well.
All right.
The restricted list.
Yeah, go give it to us. Go give us this new ban list.
Y'all gonna be changing my name from K to X after this because I'm gonna give it to you anyway. So the new.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know, right? So I was going to do a video as well talking about the recent changes in JP because I didn't know how soon we were going to get the restricted list. We still have like one more Fall Fest, Spring Fest regionals. So I was like, I don't know if we're going to go ahead and be immediately getting it or what, especially considering the first, I already closed out the tab. It's whatever. The first Fall Fest regionals is going to be like a good bit later. So it wasn't
October,
certain.
I think, right?
It was October. Okay. So
October or September?
I had to go back and look at it. Obviously, I wasn't certain when exactly this was going to be dropped, if it was going to be dropped at all. But they did. They did drop this. It is going to go into effect August 9th, 2024. So let's look at the major changes are mostly all at the top, but we're going to obviously talk about one that had gotten taken off. Is not actually on the infographic, but it is on their site, which I will pull up because we're going to read off some stuff that they wrote up there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Intercruit also has sort of the reasonings behind the list. I wonder if he actually changed the Gura one because people were kind of confused about that.
So
he was like,
I refreshed it before we started recording, and no, he has not.
Okay, because he later tweeted that he was like, yeah, it was 1 a.m. after Anime Expo, and I wrote that really bad.
Yeah, I got
everyone
kind of
knows
pulled up.
Knows why.
So the biggest changes.
First series. Go.
So obviously, we have Ayame has a cellmate now in the form of the Sokka level 0 from Avatar is now just straight up banned. The second card in Weiss Schwarz to ever just outright get banned. So
in English Weiss Schwarz, yeah,
in
that is
English,
the second one.
In English specifically. I try to keep up with some JP stuff, but I mostly talk about the English side. But yes, the next biggest hit that honestly I'm glad they did it, but it's basically just a copy of what the JP list has or had. I don't know if they made any changes to Chainsaw Man.
It's a copy.
It's a straight up copy of what they have. Okay.
Straight up copy.
So
copy pasta. 2
particular Himenos, 2 level 0 Himenos, pick 1 of 2 list. The level 3 Aki limit, you can only run 2 copies. You're going to see that particular thing. That's going to be a repeat as we scoot on over to Hololive, where the Luna level 3 and the Mio level 0 from like the standby decks that you see floating around for Hololive are also on a pick 1 of 2. And sorry fellow shrimps out there, Goomba got hit to 2 finally. It was
Goomba.
Only a matter of time. If you've reached this far, type in the chat anyway. In the comment section.
No one was very surprised by this.
And not surprised, but at the same time, I'm sitting here with a fucking deck over like 2 feet away from me, going, I gotta change this up now. Shit. But
I was having a friend borrow my Gura stuff, and he gave it back to me, and it's now just gonna sit in a pile.
Let's just cry.
Well, I'll talk about that on my turn.
Mm-hmm. You're good.
And
You're
then
good.
the last sort of taken off that kind of got glossed over.
Yep. Let me pull that.
And people didn't realize it until this article.
Yeah, it's not on the infographic. It's a particular level 1 school uniform toka was part of the choose restrictions on Data Live. It was a pick 1 of 3. Now it is a pick 1 of 2 as well. That particular toka got taken off. So just me personally, I don't know how much this is going to impact it, but they said in the notes that they said we don't expect to surge. We do not expect the deck to surge in popularity, but if it does, ... they'll be ready to hit it again in case. So
yeah,
it's kind of out on probation basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a meaty list, and there's a couple that stuff we didn't say that I'm also surprised about. Do you want to go first with your thoughts? Kind of go step by step with, I guess, like what your opinions are.
Was there any others that I'm missing? No, it was just those. It was they put it all at the top for the infographic. Okay, so
yeah.
So
Avatar, Chainsaw Man, Hololive.
Do we want
Val.
to go over the reasons that were given by Bushiroad first, or do we want to go into our opinions first? Like either is fine with me.
Let's go over the reasons like kind of quickly.
Okay.
Because that's also weird.
So,
I can kind of just read stuff off really quick.
It is all good. Like like quick summaries. The Sokka enabled being able to get multiple attacks off, kind of like the Ayame did. Obviously, Ayame could pull it off way sooner, but at the same time, depending on the deck setup, even Avatar could pull it off like in earlier levels. And being able to get off as many attacks as you could at level 3, with the effect of it being able to summon multiple copies of itself, definitely was something people were like, hey, I've seen this before. I remember a certain little Oni ninja doing this, and they're like, you saw nothing, plus 2 soul.
With Ayame, it was sort of like confined to just copies of her.
Yeah.
Where Sokka has a lot more utility and a lot
Absolutely.
more sort of interaction with the rest of the deck with the standby mechanic that made him a lot more threatening.
Very much so. So I can very much agree with like the notes that they gave as well. Like for Intern Kuhn's notes, I can very much agree for the most part. Like, anyway, we do feel
he wrote some stuff weird, but
the heart
everything
was
he
there.
says is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Chainsaw Man ones, the Chainsaw Man ones, Aki's a crazy fucking finisher. There's not really much else to say for that one. The Himeno resource engine being able to use the Easy Revenge event was just very, very consistent. From what I saw, at least me personally, looked very consistent, and just was able to pop off, just really, really crazy consistent. If for anyone who's followed the tournament reports that I've been posting the entire Springfest, I constantly stated how many times you would see Chainsaw Man topping in almost every single one. At least at the beginning of Springfest, you would see 6 to 7 of the teams all ran this specific deck. Obviously, we've seen a couple variations since then, but it was very much rampant. It was very much like something needed to be done about it. So I'm glad these hits actually occurred.
Yeah. And this is, again, a copy-paste of the Japanese restriction,
up.
so no one was everyone was expecting this, and no one was kind of taken aback by this.
Not at all.
Something else that was also stated before, because intern Matt, again, likes to post stuff before the stream, hinting at things. On that Sokka, he hinted at Sokka being hit. There was another sort of cryptic thing, but that apparently was applying to Vanguard, and everyone thought that applied to Weiss. Shout out to the guy that actually figured that out, because it mentioned Sorcerer specific. So Ainz was another expectation, the Overlord deck.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, though. And Aki was actually not brought up. I want to talk about that because I sort of have a little story for that as well.
Absolutely.
But these specific hits to the Chainsaw Man Stock Soul Door deck, it's what JP got, and it seemed to work good enough to kind of sort of keep that deck in check over there. So us getting that is not a whole big surprise.
Yeah, I'm not super opposed
Hololive,
when we copy. I'm not super surprised when English copies the JP side if it's an understandable hit. If it's something that is fair. Yeah, Hololive's. Yeah.
However, is a huge difference, but it still, I think, effectively does the same thing.
It's very close. I don't have a tab pulled up for the JP list in any shape, form, or fashion, but they also have Gura at 2.
So JP has Gura at 2. And there is a large, because after the Gura deck, the Hololive standby deck with Luna, and that package, that is sort of like the next sort of big tier, and a lot of people were actually playing standby over Gura at that point, which is why there's this big like pick 4 list on it.
Exactly.
It's like the tap counter, the field swapper, etc. Right. So Gura at 2 is the exact same thing from JP. And then to counteract the standby list, which I'm also a little bit surprised that we got this, because the standby list has not been as prevalent in America.
It really hasn't.
I wonder if this is either they're being smart and doing a preemptive hit, or they're being a little bit lazy and just being like, we don't want to deal with this going into not only a new tournament season, but also a new Hololive set coming up.
Like,
I've
let me pull
I'll,
up.
I'll talk about that on my own time.
You're good.
But the choice restriction of the Luna level 3 and the Mio level 0 heavily hurts the standby deck, because instead of that big convoluted pick 4, that Mio level 0, everyone was asking like, yo, so what does this level 0 actually like do for
It
the
does-
Hololive deck? Like, how
it does
important is
so
it?
much.
It does so much. Like, this is what sort of
everything.
enables that deck to keep doing the advantage of
like-
just mill 2, drop search, and then bounce, and then just keep bouncing back.
Like, I have 5 Hololive decks right next to me, and I obviously can't buy like enough of, say, the Mios and whatnot for every single deck. I have absolutely loved the Luna 8 standby deck. I'm like, fuck it, all the Mios are going in this one because reasons.
Yes, I ended up giving the standby core to my friend of mine, so I've been playing against this deck a lot.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of get the insight on it. And I missed out on that Mio, sort of buying it when it was cheap. It spiked up to like $20 for a hot second. I think it's currently like $10. I don't think it's really come down as much in there because the market hasn't.
No, they haven't caught on to it as much. Yeah, this is literally the day of. We are recording this the day of all the stuff has been announced within like the past 24 hours. So
that Mio is still generically good, so it has a lot of other really good applications in other decks. It just super enabled that standby deck, and Hololive's about to get a whole new onslaught of tools as well.
Very much so, and I'm already trying to like see what replacements can be done, and I have some ideas, future tech videos, but it's sort of what for people to figure out.
Yeah. But that's sort of their sort of hit to the standby deck. And then the last one's the Toka to Dal. Honestly, this doesn't really do anything. And especially to the actual sort of standby list that was with Karumi, that was the sort of the big threat. This does, however, make the 8-book Toka, which has snuck into a few regional top 8s every now and then. They're able to run this and the Brainstorm, so it does make that deck a little bit better, which is cool, because those two were on the pick list before.
Was that one
that
of the...
might be a...
You're good. Joker, was that one of the decks that you've submitted for the Community Fridays videos?
Actually, that was the 8 stock soul list.
That was 8 stock soul? Did someone else send in an 8-book?
8? I don't know. I know if you know Chairman TCG over at Tress's Collectibles, he was the guy that was piloting 8-book a lot. That sort of was like his pet deck.
Okay.
And he has, I think, also been doing that same mentality for that deck for the 8-book Freerin deck as well, because they kind of play similar.
Okay.
And that's sort of like last time I got refreshed on this info. So this sort of helps that deck, and that's sort of a nice sort of like sleeper rogue pick going into tournaments. And might be a nice sort of like, nice little meta pick. But this helps out that.
It's a good generic good stuff deck where you can also add in things like the Fujimi 2-0 counter that removes traits.
That thing.
$20 uncommon.
But as far as Dao's place in the meta, it does not help the Karumi deck. I know Joker has some spice on this, and kind of sort of I tend to lean on his side on this matter as well. But we can talk about that in the roundtable discussion.
Absolutely.
But that's it for sort of their reasoning on the hits.
Except for
and they said like
the one funny thing we have to point out, and we got to pick on Intern Kun just a little bit real quick, because we also have received the news that Intern Kun is going to be leaving Bushi, which it's okay. Yeah, everybody's got to go at their own time. So one last time I got to pick on your brother. Where in the notes he had
this was the last time he was doing this.
Yeah. In the notes that they put, it was talking, obviously, the reasonings behind hitting the Gura, saying, the Gura could get a win as early as level 2 if you did the standby shenanigans. In addition to both, the Mio and the Luna have proven to be strong utility pieces to improve the consistency of the deck, allowing the Shark to swim freely and terrorize opponents. Which this was like...
those are separate decks.
Exactly. Everyone's like that. Scratching their heads. I was reading this shit at like fucking 7 a.m. going,
and
what?
And he's typing this up in this weird sort of like metaphor-laced post.
Which,
and then
I
he
get
posts
it.
later on. Yeah, he posts later on Twitter that he's like, "Look, I typed this up at 1 a.m. after Anime Expo.
Yeah.
I'll change it later." And it's like everyone kind of knows what's up, and they're all kind of got a little chuckle out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a funny more than anything. It's just my mental state this morning was like, I just woke up. I'm like going, oh shit, news! I gotta look at this ban list stuff. I'll record later when I'm sane. What am I reading here? Like, so
yeah. Everyone was very everyone was very confused on the reasoning.
Yeah,
but they knew what was up.
So it's all good.
So do we want to go with the roundtable of our thoughts on the ban list?
Getting into the roundtable here, I'm going to close out of these.
Try to keep it condensed because we can probably ramble on for a little second too.
It's
and
all
then we
good.
can open it up.
Yeah. So okay. So I will go ahead and get mine out of the way. I do not. I feel with both, say, the Sokka and even back when Ayame came out and got banned, I honestly feel they don't need to actually ban the cards. They do erratas on cards all the fucking time and could have just said, hey, this is too strong. We need to errata it. And I feel people would have been a little more understanding than just outright banning the card. I do not agree with like the outright banning of cards in Weiss, having come from a Yu-Gi-Oh background of having to constantly deal with that stuff, but also in Yu-Gi-Oh, they eventually years down the line, sure, do erratas on certain cards to come back and go, hey, we had to make this fair. We're trying to pull stuff off the ban list because the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh ban list is crazy.
And then they merged some of those cards.
Chainsaw Man is exactly just where they have to for Yu-Gi-Oh they have to like completely neuter certain cards in order for them to no longer be
they
broken.
started doing that for a little while, then they stopped doing it because they absolutely messed up some cards.
Absolutely.
Or some like Imperial Order they didn't do enough.
It's like okay.
I have a similar train of thought to that, but I'll let you go.
You're good.
Chainsaw Man.
You're good. Chainsaw Man. Deserved, straight up. Like my opinion on that. Like. I wasn't playing, obviously, this version of the deck. I was trying to build, like, other shenanigans with Chainsaw Man. And you would see one or two other decks pop up for Chainsaw Man every now and then. But it wasn't enough for it to be like, oh, hey, we have, like, a variety of stuff. This was the clear-cut needed to happen. Like, I am completely and totally okay with this. I don't want to see Chainsaw Man be completely dead. I want to still see some decks pop up. And clearly, there are people cooking with other stuff, so that should happen.
So, what? I guess I'll say this now. Talk about cooking with Chainsaw Man. What? And again, Clairvoyance EX.
Yep. JP
what
side.
JP players did with Chainsaw Man. They have the same restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
They are keeping the Himeno combo in there and not running the event under with the two Akis. And then all they kind of have to do is splash in a bit more red, which are already running the Makima Riki as a fix.
Yeah.
And they're just running some red off finishers like the Trial deck, Chainsaw Man, and the Uncommon Power that's like the Ditch 3 Search 4.
That one. Okay. It took me a second to remember.
Yeah, so the core of the deck sort of remains the same. They just have to supplement some of the top-end power elsewhere, and you don't have the consistency of getting the easy revenges.
I got you.
But this deck, it's not completely dead in the JP meta, but it is sort of heavily it's not as powerful. So that's why I think, and I'll talk about this on mine too, I think this is a nice check to this deck because it still keeps the deck itself alive. It doesn't affect a whole lot of the other rest of the set, unless you're me and I was making Himeno waifu for a waifu tournament, and oops, I can't do that anymore because there goes two Himeno cards right there.
Womp womp.
Yeah, so Himeno went back in the box. The deck is still fine, but kind of like what we saw with Alice previously, where the restrictions were sort of enough to kind of get people away from that deck. It's not dead. It still does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But it's not as unfair as it was before. So a lot of the higher level meta players are off the deck and onto other things.
Yeah.
But the deck itself is not completely dead. It's just you have to sort of fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind it when a deck gets slowed down and it, and gets brought to, hey, you're clearly doing a lot of shit. Let's just tone it down a bit. Like, I have no problem when that happens. Like, that's totally cool. To be completely fair as well, going to the Hololive, like, obviously you saw. This is gonna be a little bit of bias. I wanted to be able to run Gura in a fucking regionals. I think I could still do a little bit of shenanigans, but I wanted to run it at full power before it got hit. I wasn't able to go to Duluth for Springfest, which is where I was planning on trying to do like a run of it. So this just makes me cry a little bit, but I'll do something. But yeah. But I picked up Moderns recently, so I'm good.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Yeah,
so,
and then we got new Hololive coming out with new spiciness.
So definitely going to be some interesting changes for that. And
what I remember from people telling me about regionals, for a little while when Hololive 2 came out, people kind of sort of considered Gura to be either overhyped or a failure, because it wasn't really putting up the numbers that people were expecting it to do. But I also think that's because there's just a lot of very powerful.
There's so many different variations of Hololive. That's the thing.
There's a lot of variations of Gura in general, because it's like, are you on the choice build?
Like,
are you on
Caligura, standby, Kanata as well?
Kanata, there's a lot of variations within Gura, and then there was a lot of other powerful options. Plus, I don't think there was the way that Bushiroad does their regionals, it's not like there's like one per weekend or one per month. It's like you have this season, and that's all the data that we have.
Yeah.
And Gura wasn't really putting up the results at the top ends of the tables that people were expecting, but there was a large representation of the deck. And I know from a lot of like I said before, I haven't been to a regional in a couple years at this point, and I want to change that this year. A lot of my other friends have gone, and there are horror stories about how unfair the Gura matchup can be, where it's just like, I'm 2-0, and then double Gura resolves, and they're dead, and it's like they can't do anything about it. Yeah. And it makes it a very not fun tournament experience.
I know, but I wanted to do that to people. I wanted to be toxic for once. No,
hey.
I get that. Oh my.
No, just play Rushi and just shuffle back 12 and say, go ahead, just please eat this 10.
That's what you did. See, now you introduced me to what's going on with Mume, and I saw that Mume is now a double combo on a level 3 that's like top deck 3 burn 5.
Yeah,
paired with a Roboco that also does it, so it's top deck 4 burn 5, and I'm like, oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, there's
Hololive is not. Yeah. Hololive is not hurting, so the Hitagura, I don't think
I
changes a whole lot.
Literally have three or four other decks I can work with. I'm even trying to make changes to the Luna Mio hit. I have some ideas for stuff, and like you stated before, they're going to be getting more tools. They're going to be getting more stuff. I'm cooking, everybody else is cooking, so it's whatever. That's basically my opinions on stuff.
Yeah, and then Dow's the last one, if you have an opinion on that.
I don't really. Dow came out like tail end of COVID, like right before I started the channel back up, so I kind of missed that in terms of keeping track of stuff.
Oh boy.
So that's I don't really have an opinion on that. My opinion is, you know what? Kudos to the Dow players. Have fun.
So let me give you the facts. Not even the opinion, the facts. COVID's opening back up, and we're doing the online regionals, right? Dow was a tier 0 format, and because of the production issues and the distribution issues, that Kurumi, that's choice 2 right now, was $50.
Yeah,
and a lot of the other cards were insanely priced because everyone had to go get it for those online regionals, and it was a tier 0 format. Like 7 of the top 8 was Dow. You're getting like those kind of numbers, right? There was a lot of very unfair cards at that time, and remember, this is sort of a time where some of the other stuff that was coming out at the time was just not on the power level of Dow Set 1. I personally sort of consider that as sort of like the introduction into the modern era of Weiss, and everything sort of before is sort of the pre-modern era. Joker will talk about the Lost format a bunch. That's sort of like the transition period, the weird transition period. But that sort of time period is when there was a huge shift in Weiss's power thresholds on not only the super hyper strong finishers, but also the utility pieces, where they took basically 2 cards that had separate lines of text, smashed them together on one, and you had these like sort of hyper efficient utility pieces. And Dow is when they really started doing that with the trial deck Toka, and then we saw that with the Cowgirl box topper, because it was the same exact card, and then other things where it's like, here's a really good brainstormer with another really good effect, and all this other stuff. I'm gonna leave this to Joker because he's the one who has the opinion on this, but and this isn't even my turn anyway. You talk. See, I told you I was gonna yap.
It's all good, Joker. If you wanna go next, bro, you can, or you can save it for last. Honestly, you've been quiet this whole time. You get to pick.
I'm gonna say, if we're on Dow right now and he wants to go, Joker, go ahead. I'm gonna mute my mic for a second and I'll be back in 1 minute. But go ahead.
Assuming Joker's
so we have all these hyper.
Yeah.
So we have all these hyper, explosive finishers like Aki, Gura. Obviously, they're hit now, but we still have Azula that could still potentially do work. And honestly, I think Kurumi should come back.
Okay, Azula did get the Sokka nerf, though, to be completely fair. She can still pump some damage. I will completely agree with you on that. But she got the Sokka nerf.
Yeah.
So. But yeah.
Yeah, no, so I think Kurumi at this point can come back. The other two, like, the old standby deck isn't, it's no longer that shell. It's no longer a super defensive build anymore. It's more focused along, I'm going to push soul triggers and have infinite power, a lot like Japanese Niji, Love Live Niji Jisaki. So,
which I need to look into the Niji Jisaki stuff, apparently.
Yeah, Niji Saki is a fun deck. But yeah, I think long and short of it, Kurumi can just can come off that ban list at this point. Like, and I think it'll be fine. Sokka is warranted because they should have hit that on pre-production.
It's one of those things of how did this get past testing type thing. Like, in my mind, but
I mean, they just need to hire actual players to do their testing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is what I'm coming back to. Oh yes. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, they just need to have actual players that know the game in and out, actually test these cards and test these profiles.
I've said the same thing for Yu-Gi-Oh for years, and it's just not going to happen.
Hey Joker, can I take that a step further?
Go for it.
How about actual players coming in and having input on set design?
No.
For the English exclusive set.
Absolutely. There's
don't give us too much power.
It's like, how do I put this? They already know at this point who, like, I'm even gonna say like Shizu Cats and other various content creators and people in the community who have gone. There's so many people who have gone to Worlds enough times. Like, their next punch card, they get a free coffee. That they should just be hitting them up going, hey, you clearly know what the hell you're doing. You come back here every other year.
They already do that for a lot of the reveals, right? Like when they do the English exclusive set reveals, and they'll reach out to content creators and be like, hey, here's our
they'll reach out to
here's our card.
Weiss is one of the ones who did he did a reveal on his channel for some of the new cards as well. So I know with him also being a judge, it's easier for them to reach out to him as well. But even Lunchbox also is like constantly in touch with the media people in general. Like Bushi, he's like,
but even being a judge in a Bushiroad thing is not like being a judge in Pokemon or being a judge in Magic.
Yeah,
you know, like there isn't a very established judge program. It's just we need volunteers for this event, and you're gonna take a judge test, and that's it.
Yeah, I just say because of that, it's easier to get in touch with him.
But yes,
yeah, but that's my point in that regard. But I fully agree. Like you said, get players, get people who've like come back multiple fucking times that we reach out to for, like you said, for the reveals. Hey, do you think this card is fair? Can you sign this NDA and tell us if this card is fair? Like,
I think the only thing that we kind of get that as a player base to sort of interact with Bushiroad, they do that survey, right?
they do
Where
like
they
a.
sort of,
I don't even know when the next one is, but I know what you're talking
I
about.
don't know when that's, but like they'll do like a once a year survey where they'll kind of get like a, what do you feel about this? What do you feel about this? And that I think is taken into account, but it's just sort of like, you know, a, 10,000 different voices.
Apparently, a lot of them said Adventure Time. I'm sorry?
ReZero when?
For real. Oh, actually, I think we were talking about that.
2025. 2025.
They said JP's getting a lot of it.
JP's going to get it later this year. We'll probably get that announcement later this year. 2025. Our schedule only goes up to December, except for Nikkei. So there's 3 months right there of releases, and then the rest of 2025. Bunko and ReZero, I expect both to be announced in 2025. Just a, low-key prediction. Nothing too spicy, but like, there's plenty of sets that we're expected to get.
Yeah, but sorry, we ended up taking over. So please continue.
Yeah, Joker, give us more of your thoughts on the ban list.
All right, so Sokka, relatively fine. Should be restricted.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been potentially just no siblings Agni Kai and no Sokka have it as a choice too, but restriction is fine because it just nips any and all problems out in the bud. Chainsaw Man, just short and simple. This is fine. I would have said that Aki at 4 is fine and restrict the event to 2, but it's neither here nor there. So
I'd have to see how that would play. Like, I'm just curious now that you stated that one. I'm curious.
You're icy tailing for 6 and not 8, but you still tri-field Aki, so it's like your opponent's still dead. It's
fair.
And they still run ways to get the event if they don't have the choice restriction, so it's like it's not.
Well, no,
it's not enough. You still have the choice restriction. Okay, then it's still not heavy-handed enough because you can still Icy Tail 6 is still very threatening for tri-fielding Aki, and like your opponent's just gonna die. I'll do some on my own opinion too, but go ahead.
You good.
Okay. Hololive. I know Space Cowboy is going to be very sad that he's not going to be able to farm the Gura players, but
womp.
And honestly, my experience against Gura has been mostly positive. I've mostly been able to just say, "Oh, cool, you have neat finisher." I just do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up taking down my opponent. So about 3/5 of the time when they're playing Gura.
He's like, just cancel, forehead.
Yeah, exactly. Just cancel. Just cancel and not eat the spy, please. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah. 8 standby Hololive, the Luna build. Luna build's okay. I think this is definitely preemptive, definitely early, but I guess they wanted to make sure they got that ban out of the way. Honestly, with a lot of cats and some Arifureta in the meta. Honestly, I play Arifureta at this point. And with as many soldiers as I run in my Mume Rushia deck, like, going through and just chewing through a deck like 8 Standby Hololive was absolutely a piece of cake. Like, I did not find that deck very threatening at all. It did not necessarily have a high damage ceiling. It would just try to live, and that was its big thing. It's like playing Mushoku in 2024.
It's really rough.
Yeah, exactly. So, doesn't quite have the ceiling. Didn't need a hit. Probably not right now. But, I mean, they got it there. They future-proofed themselves.
I have a theory on that, but keep going.
I think that's it. Like, it's, 10 o'clock now at night? And I am almost turning into a potato?
It is 11 o'clock at night, sir.
See, told you I'm a potato.
Yeah.
We're going to make you into French fries, boy. Do you want to be straight cut or waffle cut?
Obviously straight cut.
Okay.
Shoestring, please.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Shoestrings. Hey,
Not crinkle? Damn.
not crinkle.
No
Not
crinkle, sir.
All right, it's my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
Go
You
for
done?
it.
Okay. Okay.
You've
All
been
right, sorry,
taking
what
your
was it?
turn. No, you're good. I'm good.
I've been taking my turn. Now it's really my turn. Already no turn.
Yep.
Fucking MTG
all right.
player
You know
in
who the
here.
Yu-Gi-Oh player is.
Yeah, let me start with Dowry. Taka. Taka.
Takahata, 109. You're good.
Yeah, right.
Volume
Toka.
3.
Yeah, right. Toka. I said before, this is really good for the book build, for the actual standby build. This doesn't really do a whole lot. The standby build does. Joker, you said that Karumi can come off. I missed that part.
Yeah, the crewmate can come off.
Okay, I agree. It was a tier 0 deck back in 2021. Tier 0 deck. But with the way that the modern game has gone, Kurumi, I think, can come back, and it is fine. But I think what Bushiroad is doing is they're going to slowly, maybe over the next 2 ban lists, start taking off those choice restrictions first. So
Okay.
they took off the Toka, then they removed the Toka and the other choice restriction on there, and then they take Kurumi off, probably sometime next year. And then like the deck is another good deck, or it has been power crept out by everything that's come out since then. But I think, especially also because we talked about Macross being released, the choice finisher on that, I believe, very similar to the Kurumi, just it's on choice and not standby. And there's other cards that sort of have that modular level 3 finishing effect. Kurumi just did it 4 years ago.
Future me put Karumi on screen just for sake of argument.
Yeah, Kurumi right now I think is fine. It's just another good deck. Back then it was a tier 0 deck. It can come off. Sokka. Okay, Sokka. Cade, you talked about how you were surprised this was. You don't like how things are outright banned. Right?
I do not agree with
Joker,
things just being outright banned. I feel other things can be done.
And Joker, you said that you thought that this could maybe be punished lighter, like a choice restriction or something.
I don't think it,
Yeah,
like,
it could be a choice restriction.
So-
Standbys.
What they should have done with Sokka. Sokka was a card that never, ever. This was a design mistake on English Bushiroad's part.
fully agree.
Other cards that have this profile of like the on death, search your deck for the costs, whatever equal to your level, and call it to field. All of those call it at rest so that you don't get multi-attack on. When they printed Sokka, they just made it dual timed, but forgot to put that stipulation on there and said this is fine. And now here we are today.
Yeah.
Banning Sokka outright kills the Avatar set completely. The Avatar set was already actually very underpowered. Everyone was sort of very disappointed with how that was. The standby Sokka build kind of got figured out after the fact, and then people sort of gravitated towards that because of this multi-attacking degeneracy they could do at any point in the game. But the set outside of that really, really needed Sokka because the only other plussing 0 that they gave that set was a Zuko that was an on-play salvage Ricky, so it's a super, super not very selective, weirdly timed Ricky. So it's not even like an on-death salvage or an on-play search. It's an on-play salvage. Not overly an amazing profile. So Sokka was sort of the best plussing 0 that set had. If they eroded Sokka to calling at rest when it's sent from the field to the grave, or even when it's or like that, like that. They erode it to that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't immediately kill the set because the set's like completely unplayable now, and you fix the problem of the multi-attacking standby decks. That's my opinion on Sokka. So I think they super dropped the ball, which I could ramble on for a whole separate video about how Bushiroad English designers completely fumble most of their sets. Batman Ninja was one of the worst financial disasters in this game, and it like almost killed a lot of stores.
Yeah.
Mob was not very fantastic. the Ruby set that just came out is a little bit underwhelming. Let's put it that way. A little bit. I think there's some cooler things in there than what people give it credit for, but it's not like, setting the world on fire. Everyone was very hyped about when Avatar came out. This was like a set that was. They designed these English exclusive sets to sort of draw other fandoms into the game. That's why we get fighting games. That's why we get like cartoons like Adventure Time. That's why we get DC and other like popular English anime like Mob and Seven Deadly, Tokyo, and then Avatar is another one of those fandoms they're trying to sort of draw in. Right?
Sword Art Online, AOT, the countless number of sets for each of those, considering how popular they were, it's just like another.
They're trying to reach out to other fan bases to draw them in outside of some of the hardcore anime fan bases.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people were hyped about Avatar. Unfortunately, Avatar was kind of a stinker of a set. The Sokka standby build was sort of the one sort of big saving grace of this is like, hey, this is the broken meta deck. Now that's gone. No, there's no more interest in Avatar. Korra set win, please.
For real. Oh, God, I would love that.
Also, fun fact, because I'll talk about that when we talk about the rest of the stream, too, because I have other thoughts about the stream. Chainsaw Man. This was... I also have a funny story about Chainsaw Man. The exact same hit that JP got. When intern Matt made that post about the sorcerer, which, by the way, there's no lines on any of this, too. The sorcerer and... because his uncle told him. So it's like, Overlord's going to get hit, and Avatar's going to get hit. No mention of Aki. So I'm like, is Aki just going to go scotch-free on this hit? And I'm thinking, like, this makes sense. Chainsaw Man has only been out since, what, February?
Was it January or February? One of the two, yeah.
February. 4 months?
January was
5 months. 5 months. Aki has been legal 5 months. Magic does not ban cards that fast. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not ban cards that fast. 5 months. Very rarely, and it's like an emergency thing on some common because there's some... It's not very often. Magic will ban stuff before they even release it.
Yeah,
but it's not common.
I can think of very few times in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where that's happened as well, where they like, this set's coming out where we know this particular combination is going to be broken. Let's go ahead and ban the pieces of the combo already in English. But
even Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is sort of another point that I want to make later on, and when we talk about HoloLive, Yu-Gi-Oh! Uses their ban list as a weapon outside of the competitive game. They use it for other reasons. So they won't hit a lot of the problem cards, a lot of the new problem cards, until they get reprinted in a future set, and then they can sell that set.
Absolutely.
And then they'll either hit old stuff, or then they'll hit it later. The actual hits on Aki are fine. This was sort of proven. I said this before. This was proven in JP. Unlike Avatar, this does not kill the set. The set still has a lot of other options to play, and the deck itself is also not dead because you just supplement the pieces that you're missing, the 2 Akis and the Himeno, with a bit more red, and you just run some off finishers, and the deck is still competent, right? It's not completely dead. The morning it was right, the morning of the regional after Matt made that post before I went to locals with you, Joker. And I told you about this. I decided there was looking on TCG Player, there was 3 Akis, 2 for $5, 1 for $6, and it goes up to like 10 and 15 of what it was before, right? I'm like, I own 2 Akis. I didn't buy very hard in the Chainsaw Man. I own 2 Akis because I'm like, this is what we're gonna get on the list. If Aki had a chance of not being hit because it wasn't mentioned in the intern post, that card would jump back up to $20, and then I would have to be playing this into another regional season with me spending $40 on 2 more copies of Aki. So I'm like, let me go buy 2 more copies of Aki at $5. I lost out, and like, oops, I'm out $10, whatever. Calculated risk, I can accept that, but it was like,
better to lose 10 than 40.
Like, hit Aki, I think I not hit Aki, and also going back to the Yu-Gi-Oh mentality, I'll talk about this with not only with Avatar, Overlord also ties into this, but HoloLive. The Gur hit is exactly like JP. I said before that Gura was not really putting up the insane results of other decks because there was just so many other strong decks and not a whole lot of regionals to go around. But it was still very well represented and absolutely terrorizing a lot of players and just making a very unfun tournament experience. Limit it to 2. And then Clairvoyance EX, the Gura deck falls off in Japan. But Hololive being Hololive has dozens and dozens and dozens of other options. It's not like Hololive as a set is dead or anything.
Yeah.
From said friends that I also gave the standby stuff to, the 8 standby build of Hololive was actually more represented than Gura in JP prior to Gura's ban list. It was kind of considered the better deck.
Yeah.
Which is why it has that very heavy choice restriction on it.
It's a pick one of 4 still?
It does. Yeah, it's pick 1 of 4 of like a tap counter and a bunch of the standby pieces.
I gotcha.
And we got it as the pick 1 of 2 with Luna and Neo. That standby deck though has not had the same representation over in America, so there is no real like tournament results for this. It's just something that people know.
It just pops up.
Then I'm like, why? Yeah. So then I'm like, why did we get these restrictions? Now, if there's no tournament results, but everyone knows this is a good deck coming up, but then they're not hitting other decks, right? The reason is, and this is going back to the Yu-Gi-Oh thing, Hololive has 2 products coming out in the next 2 months, 3 months. The Ambassador's like super trial deck, and then the premium booster that has a ton new cool options. Yu-Gi-Oh, you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you know this.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to hit the old meta, and that way it can clear the new meta to be dominant and keep players from buying the new stuff. They hit Gura and they hit Standby because those are going to be probably the 2 strongest Hololive decks amongst the other very strong Hololive stuff that they have. But if people are still going to remain on Gura and then just switch to Standby, they're not going to buy the new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So they're doing the Konami thing of we're going to use the ban list as a business decision. And we're going to ban the old stuff and try to promote the new stuff where it's like, you can't play Standby, you can't play Gura. Go play Mume, go play all the other Ambassador stuff. Yeah, you still got Rushia. Yeah, you still got Bar. You still got Marine. You have all those other good options, and you can run your stuff there. But they're trying to sort of push their product a bit, all right?
Yeah, no, it's the same thing with quintuplets. And to interject and add to that, and like I'm adding to like your point, 100%.
Yeah.
When quintuplets with the 8 standby Nino decks, a lot of the Nino stuff, like everyone expected to get hit, but not all the quintuplet stuff got put out just yet. And so they're like, oh, it's probably not going to get hit. And sure enough, even to when I say hits, it's like the level 3 is there's a level 3 Nino that's at 2 copies as well in JP, but that never happened to us.
It did. It's on there.
Not the level 3.
It's on there.
Hold on.
Oh no, it's not.
No,
you're right. Never mind. It's the level 2.
It has a pick
the
1
Ichika,
of 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pick 1 of 3.
Yeah. It's a pick 1 of 3.
I think Nino was a lot more terrorizing over there. Like that was sort of like a very big bad deck. It was very strong over here.
Like I saw a lot of representation for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of representation for Nino. It's still like a very good deck. And they kind of needed a little slap on the wrist. But then like
it was like
EX,
nothing.
It gets sort of it sort of got caught up to with some of the rest of the meta, and also even within Quints, because then Itsuki was sort of considered to be the best deck over Nino with the hits, and Itsuki's still considered a strong deck. And then when the movie premium booster comes out, Miku, because everyone was like, yo, Miku's like the bad build, and Miku all of a sudden sort of becomes like really good, and for a little while it was heavily played in JP, but I think it fell off because this was sort of the Icy Tail meta with like Bunny Girl, Aki, Miku, and some of these other things that were going around.
Oh, so it had some
Miku
other
kind of
weird
fell
stuff
off
against,
Yeah. So like they kind of like shifted some profiles around and made Miku a lot better. And it sort of became like a sort of another good meta deck, but it's kind of like, you know, more fair still. But yeah, they want to sort of hit some of the old stuff, get some of the new stuff like promoted. Not so much of Quints, because like Quints was also sort of like a known thing. But it's sort of just and like no one was surprised by the Quints hit. But like the Hololive standby is a little bit weird. It also could just be laziness on Bushiroad's part, because they just said, we're going to take the Japanese list and be like, they hit this, we'll do this.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. That sounds very much like them, you know?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And that's kind of what people were expecting with the Quint stuff. But then they're like, oh, but we still have a whole other set. So that was kind of the mentality people were going in with was, hey, it's probably not going to get hit so that they can sell product. It is like,
and as we've talked about prior to coming on this recording, English has long had this mentality of they don't really like to be quite as heavy-handed on their bans. They'll either try just to outright not ban stuff. Japanese has cards that are banned over there and are completely 100% legal over here. One of the outright ban cards over in Japan is like a Harui event that
it's off. You talking about a swing?
At 4 over here. No. The swing got lifted off, and we eventually got that. They didn't report that. It's the stack the climax, the blue event.
It's the blue event.
Like,
Okay, yeah.
Climax.
Yeah,
that's the one they're banned.
Sack climax.
Yeah, you're 100%.
There's a few other examples of that. Of like they have stuff that's like Bang Dream has a lot of hits over there.
Yeah, there's like a Kasumi promo we never got because of that.
Yeah, and then some other stuff with the Fumio stock swap that that's the Hendrickson build, but like we don't have that either. And we have all those cards, and it's not really doing much over there. Talking about some stuff that they didn't do real quick, because I think that was all my thoughts out of the way. I mentioned Overlord, because that's sort of the other deck where it didn't get touched at all. And they made that tweet talking about sorcerers, and it's like, well, Ainz is going to get hit. In Japan, it's the level. It's Luard. Ainz level 1 was outright banned, and the Shaltier Vampire Bride level 1 and the level 3 Ainz were on the choice restriction.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we would get something like that over here because that's sort of like one of the next big bad decks that people are now going to gravitate to. And as of the latest Japanese restriction list, Kaguya-sama also got completely freed on the Japanese list, of which we still have the Chika Riki and the Hayasaka level 1 bounce back drop search on our restriction list. We were also expecting those to, this just got lifted in Japan.
Mm-hmm. See if it
really should have probably come off.
Yeah,
it should have come off a while ago. We really didn't need this in English because Kaguya wasn't like, it was a strong deck. It wasn't like that bad.
I think even in teams this year, I may have seen 1 or 2 Kaguya decks top, and that was
and with this restriction, it like really neuters the deck. And even with those 2 cards back, the deck is like not really that meta warping. It's like it's good, but it's not meta warping. So people were expecting that restriction to get lifted, and did not. I would say that like Japan just did it. Check I get on the next Banlist update, and I think Chika and they can come off. Just like Dow, it's not going to do anything.
I gotcha.
So that's kind of the 2 things that I'm like, where is Ainz and where is and why is Kaguya still on here? And I know you guys, I have this opinion, some of my other friends have this opinion, other players in the Discord have this opinion, and that's sort of Ainz's place in the meta. Ainz has also sort of been just okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like up to the release of it, and I'm assuming like we're past like the round table at this point. This is just going to be like interjecting.
Yeah. Just go.
I got you.
I have my piece.
No, you're good. But I can kind of agree with you on the Overlord to a degree because I like remember so many people hyping it up. It kind of like how people were like hyping up Gura a little bit, like, but Gura actually ended up having representation. Overlord ended up just not really having the representation that people hyped it up to get. At least,
if it had the representation, I think, because it was still like a cheap deck that everyone knew about, but it didn't have the results.
It just didn't put out, like from what I could see.
Yeah, and that's because like the deck itself is like the Ein, the Ein is super uninteractable. It does all these like blow up the field, burn damage, whatever. Right, the entire deck doesn't really do anything outside of that, the Ainz turns, and that's it. So it's like, okay, Ainz gets their piece, and then that's it. So it's like, all right, I blew up my field, but like I'm a smart player that knows this matchup. I'm holding cards in my hand. I'm just gonna win through card advantage. They blow up my board. They push me to level 3. I play my finishers down, and I'm playing more unfair cards than them, and I'm gonna game them with Aki or whatever your choice of finisher is that you're going into, right?
Yeah.
That's my opinion on Overlord. And it doesn't have the results. The players that have been playing Overlord, they're not really doing that great with the deck. I had one friend that wanted to take Overlord to regionals. I think it was also one of the Georgia regionals. I forget what regional he went to, and he took Overlord. I was surprised he took Overlord because it was testing so poorly. Like I was bullying it with Bang Dream Anniversary, and he did incredibly bad there. Just for the deck just didn't want to do anything for him. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has this opinion. I feel it's not really that spicy of a take. That I think maybe now everyone is going to start looking to Ainz that the other top stuff has come off, but I still don't think Ainz is like really. It's a good deck still, and it's going to get represented as far as the players, but I think it's fair.
It's at the point where so much stuff is already on the same level or higher, or somewhere in that ballpark, that it doesn't feel like it's gonna be this like kind of a threat looming over, as opposed to or other certain decks.
A skilled player can kind of play around it a little bit. Go ahead, Joker.
Yep. No, I was gonna say it's definitely a gatekeeping type of deck. It's one of those decks that's going to keep it like, say, your Ninos and Mushoku's 8 standbys, even like the Hololife's 8 standby deck. Any of those board-based decks, it just keeps in check.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So I felt this way with Alice when Alice got these hits, and the thing with Alice is like Alice was kind of already on its way out of the meta as new stuff was coming in, including Overlord. It got the hit, but Alice was still sort of the floor for what's good. And then that was sort of keeping other decks from kind of getting above Alice because they had to just deal with the Alice matchup, where then the decks better than Alice or could outright, out Alice, were sort of then above Alice at that point. So that was sort of like the meta floor at that point.
Yeah, that was the definition of this new set came out. Can it contend with this deck? Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Which then that's also why I think some of the traditionally we see some of these standby builds that are super powerful, like your Mashokos, like your Data Lives. Ainz does very well into those build-a-board matchups. But then the level 2s, like your Alices, your Mirrans, also do that. So it's very, very rough for those decks. And then standby has kind of always been sort of like the power floor, I guess, in the game. Because, standby is just a very, very busted mechanic.
Very.
But yeah. And then this is all just speculation. We'll see when we get to the individual regionals, like, hey, it might be like it's Ainz' time to shine. And Cade, back when you and me were talking with the set releases in the future, sort of what's scheduled coming out at this point? There's not a whole lot that's like super meta defining.
I'm pulling it back up just to kind of show people. Oh, I had it. Hold on, give me 1 second.
I know people are. I don't know Ayakashi Triangle as much as other players do, but I think like that's a strong deck. Joker, do you know more about that? Because you know the same guys I do.
I sadly don't. I think it's the main builds are 8 standby, but the better build is 8 pants.
Okay.
I think 8 pants, I believe, is the build-a-board deck.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure sort of how that's going to perform in the meta.
No.
Joker, you and me have talked about Dengeki before, because I was asking you like I was asking about Shauna, and then I sort of got the rundown on Shauna, so I'm like, okay, what's in Dengeki? I think there's a lot of very cool decks in Dengeki, but I don't think that there's anything that's going to sort of. There might be like a deck or two that could like pop up, nothing that's going to be like super obvious meta contention, right? The standby build I know is solid, if a little bit wonky, but it's nothing like that we don't already have. Nothing super spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too terribly oppressive in Dengeki at all. Maybe low A tier. Probably the best build is probably going to be 8 standby. Carmen on Pittsburgh Weiss Schwarz has a very, very fun-looking build for that.
Yeah,
so,
I asked you about that. I watched that when I was driving the other weekend. My friends told me that it was standby pants was sort of what Japanese players did, but it's sort of like, it's an okay deck. No K deck.
Yeah.
Shauna, which is out in 1 week from the time of this recording.
Yeah.
That is actually so. I was a little bit confused looking at the Shauna list of like, what does this deck do? It's the most vanilla thing ever. If you don't know what Shauna does, the sort of claim to fame of why that is sort of going to be a very, very spicy hot, let's say anti-meta deck.
Hot.
There's a
the
level
flame
1.
trait.
Yeah, because flame trait, right? And also, funny enough, there's a level 1 in that Shauna premium booster that is anti-burn.
Yeah.
You as a player cannot take burn damage.
It's just
That is
you can.
very.
It's a 1/1. You can just drop, and I'm like, what? Okay.
I believe. Don't quote me on this. Comment down in the section if there's something else. I believe the only other effect that is like that in English, that is anti-burn, is the Shiroe level 3 from Log Horizon.
But that's on a level 3. That's the thing.
It's on a level 3, and I think a lot of people recognize that Shiroe as an absolutely busted card because it just does so many things. But Log Horizon is a very old set that never got a lot of the modern tools. It doesn't have standby, just sort of cheated out.
It took 7 years to get its power up set in English.
It took 7 years, which I was very excited over, let me tell you. But I'm like, yeah, I can play Log Horizon again, and yay, William, Massachusetts.
William,
But
Massachusetts.
the Shauna build, from what I'm told by more knowledgeable players, it is a very, very threatening anti-meta build. It sort of is a very simplified game where you're playing double advantage combo. There is a level 3 combo that you can play in Dangeki, but the builds I was seeing was Choice Door, double advantage, and you field multiple of the 1/1s in case your opponent has like a bounce effect. So if they address one, you still have another one. And then they're basically playing a lot of like early play healers and off finishers as sort of like a lot. So it's, if you look at the build, it's a very sort of like simplified. It's nothing too complicated. But when you're playing with an anti-burn effect, that turns off a lot of what the opponent's decks can do. So all those hyper aggressive finishers, your Akis, your Ninos,
your Guras, your Marins,
all that stuff. None of that matters anymore. So they sort of lose that reach, and then the Shauna deck can sort of out sustain you.
Yeah.
But what I have been told numbers of times is that the Japanese sort of mentality of how they play the game, they try to play a lot more defensive and slower, which is where Shauna thrives.
So something can
English
rush
players,
it, like a bit.
Well,
faster.
it's just like, yeah, if English players, they'll be a lot more aggressive in their play style. It's more just generalizations that other people have told me.
Yeah.
And the meta is a little bit faster over here. Now, albeit Japan has a lot more finisher threats over there.
Yeah.
But the sort of the player mentality of how they play the game
is more defensive.
Is that
versus,
it's more defensive oriented with like tap counters and money counters and that sort of stuff.
Which you saying that reminded me, like, I feel that was something that people said about Overlord, like that it thrived better in a defensive style meta.
Yes, because those build-a-board decks, those defensive styles, and Ainz blows all that up.
Yeah.
So I think Shauna will be.
Thing.
I think it's a deck to watch,
but
I don't think it's going to be quite a huge threat. But kind of maybe kind of when the Tokyo Revengers Dual Laners deck got figured out, and then everyone else started putting in stock swaps specifically for that matchup. You might see an influx of bounce effects to try to deal with Shauna, to sort of keep that deck out of the room a little bit, or just to check it. But after that, it's like, Oshinoko, I think, is like a one set deck and not terribly amazing. I still have to watch the show. That reminds me.
Same. I honestly need to finish it up. I feel it's one of those that's popular enough. It's kind of like one of those that, like, hey, this is a popular show. We're certain people are probably going to pick this up more for that than we assume they're going to pick it up for meta type thing.
But it's one of those things where it's like it's going to be a deck, nothing amazing.
Yeah.
The Love Live releases are also going to be interesting because there's a lot of very powerful stuff in. There's the reprint set and then there's the new set. There's a lot of powerful stuff in the.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I need to hit up Desmond for JoJo.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of powerful stuff in the new Love Live set, but because we're missing so much of the other Love Live stuff, I don't know how well it's going to do over here.
We
JoJo
have
has a lot of
so
very,
much
very
though.
cool stuff. We have a lot of old stuff, but the last Love Live set that we got was Sunshine Extra Booster.
And
Was that the
was
last one?
2016.
2016. That was the last one, and then we started getting Bang Dream. We got none of the Superstar sets. We got none
Yeah.
of the Nijigasaki decks.
Yeah, we
We
haven't
got
gotten any of
none.
that yet.
We are just now getting this anniversary stuff. We're missing a lot. So I
Yeah.
don't know where that franchise is going to be on the meta. Bushiro wanted to push Bang Dream and not Love Live.
Yeah, the 10th anniversary thing's next month, so.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? JoJo.
Yeah.
JoJo has a lot of very powerful stuff. There's some really cool stuff in JoJo. I love that set. I bought it in JP. I might go rebuy it in English. I'm not looking forward to $20 White Snakes and $20 Jolin Brainstorms. But there's a lot of like the sort of like the Jolin, the choice pants build. I think is like considered the best build. But there's a lot of other cool builds in there. There's the Kakuin standby build, with like Dio, or if you want to use Made in Heaven for like the double turn skip that they can do. Jotaro has a brutal finisher. There's a lot of cool stuff in JoJo, but it's one of those things where it's like there's some cool decks in JoJo, but it's still pretty fair, right?
Okay, quick question
And
for
then
that.
Yes.
Quick question for that. Okay, just because we've only gotten part 5 over here.
Yes.
Golden Wind, for those who don't know the JoJo parts.
Yes.
We've only gotten Golden Wind over here. Just easy thing. Is all of that interchangeable? Like, you can run Stone Ocean. You cannot run Stone Ocean with Golden Wind with Stardust Crusaders. It's separate.
So it is Neo standard. Because it's JoJo, it's all Neo standard together.
Okay.
However, Golden Wind is traded differently.
Okay.
Because it's traded Golden Wind. So it's kind of like the Sword Art Online Alicization Anniversary mess, where everything needs its own traits, kind of thing.
Time to go.
Golden Wind is checking. Yeah, also Golden Wind is a set from 2018, 2019, 2020. It's a in my eyes, a pre-modern set, and it wasn't a very good set. I love Golden Wind, but it wasn't a very good set. There's only probably a handful of tools out of there. And then some of it's like some of the standby options that you can do and other tech pieces. But because the Golden Wind, the bar was like actually like one of the good cards out of there.
The +2 soul. No, I'm just messing. You're good.
Yeah, but because the Golden Wind stuff checks for other Golden Wind characters, it does not play very well with the Stone Ocean and Stardust Crusaders because they're checking for stand user characters.
Gotcha. You can. It's not recommended type thing.
Yeah, so it's more of like it's more backwards compatible because you can
I love
supplement the newer sets with the older stuff because those are still stand user, but the Golden Wind like sort of core doesn't work with the new stuff because it's checking for Golden Wind, which the new stuff is not. Golden Wind did get a. Yes, the Golden Wind also got a reprint as well. I think like a month ago, so it's it's more just kind of floating around now.
Okay.
Also, why some of the prices are cheaper.
That's fair. I imagine
and then I think the last release is Frieren in December, and Frieren's another set where it has a lot of cool, fun deck building options that you can do. But I kind of compare it to Kobayashi Dragon Maid, where it's like there's a ceiling, a power threshold ceiling for how that deck can do. I'm incredibly excited about Frieren. I know Joker is too. I bought a bunch of supplies. I need to go buy some more for it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I know nothing of it. I gotta look into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of very cool decks that you can do, but I don't think a lot of them are going to sort of be very high impact. The book build I know is one because Chairman was talking about that, and that seems to be like a confident build, but it's nothing that's going to like set the world on fire.
Yeah, there's 8 pants is fine. There's pants choice, 8 choice. You got a lot of other builds. There's a spicy build that I really wanted to try, which was multiple
The-
standbys into bar. With
Yeah,
the
the standby bar build. Like, I think it's a very deep set with a lot of cool flavor and deck building options, but kind of like how Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, because Kobayashi's Dragon Maid was also like that, where it's like there's a lot of good things and a lot of things you can do. You just build like 4 decks out of there easy. But they're only so good, you know.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm excited for that set, but as far as like, and it also comes out in December, which is sort of the tail end of the tournament season. So it's not gonna have a. Is it November? Oh, yeah. It's end of November and then going into December.
Yeah.
It's when it'll be legal.
So
So it will.
We actually to caveat on that. We
1
do
week?
Have it, yeah, we have a week instead of 2 weeks now.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
yeah.
So it will be legal for that that Philly regional. But you know, if a Freerim build ends up breaking the top 8, I'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised.
Yee.
I could expect it because you have a bunch of different builds that can come out of it, and not everybody's going to be prepared for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
and
hit
especially
y'all
because I
up
think the
on a
meta
video
is a
review.
a meta is a bit more wide open. It's possible, but like I'm sure between now and December, or end of November into December, the meta might get figured out a little bit more. We'll see. Slime is still around. Overlord is still around. New Hollow Knight stuff is going to be everywhere, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna be going into that.
Quince never went away. Henderson never went away. Some of the old, you know, the old hats get their chance now.
We will have to see how it is.
Bochi.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up.
No, you're good. Basically, we're going to be just giving closing thoughts and stuff like that. If you have anything else, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm
So
basically good.
we've been yapping for a good
Yeah.
a good time. So maybe we should wrap this.
You're good. But yeah, Joker, if you got anything else, go for it. You're good.
Well, I was going to say, Brian might.
Soup. I don't care.
Yeah, soup. Sorry.
Yes,
Brian, everyone knows me.
Doxed on base stage.
Yes.
Now you're good.
Oh no, it's not. I don't care.
Edit this out, please. Editor, stop.
Future
The
me's
entire
like,
East Coast knows who
no.
I am. Yeah.
But yeah, soup. You would know about Macross Delta. I think a little bit better than. At
So
least me.
actually, I don't. I don't know because I wasn't paying attention to the JP set and I wasn't expecting it to come out in English.
We're like, we're
Literally,
gonna get
like I
this
said, it was
anytime
funny.
soon.
Yeah, like I said, it was funny that Pittsburgh list got uploaded today or after they announced it for English. So I need to go watch that and kind of get a bit more knowledge on that because hey, that's coming out and that does some cool stuff. I just know that the choice finisher is very similar to Karumi, where it's that like, sort of like modular whatever you want it to do kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to go. I have to do some research myself.
Yeah. All I'll say is that if Macross Delta is coming out, there's no reason that Grisaya Set 2 cannot come back. Come out.
I was surprised we even got the first Grisaya set to begin with, but I am also... That's also sort of... Grisaya set 2 was above Macross on my bingo card. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough, yeah.
I gotcha.
But I think 2025 is going to have a lot of really good releases.
Robotech,
Oh, yeah.
let's go. Take over worlds. Anyway, no, you're good.
English exclusive.
Menu boys.
No. It's English exclusive Robotech, but it's not Neo standard with Macross because flavor.
I would actually laugh my ass off at that. That would be great.
That would be hilarious.
Oh my god.
I want it now.
It's like, Bushi, we're just throwing ideas out here for you. Just take.
Where's
the bite.
where's my English exclusive Ronin Warriors set? Come on now,
bro?
Oh,
you have,
that was one.
Oh my god.
Now we. I'm old. I know everything.
I'm 34.
Where's my
I
English
understand.
exclusive speed? I'm 37.
Shit.
Bleh. Yeah.
I know. I'm no longer the oldest person on the Discord. Anyway.
No, I am the resident old man wherever I go now. It's weird.
Oh man.
That's usually me, but yeah.
Oh, it's me
I
now.
have to pass this to Crown now.
Yeah, I'm Gramps now.
Okay. But no.
Um,
oh god.
so-
Warriors.
Look, I get to be King Hassan. Okay.
Yes.
If I have to talk about this fate, I am now King Hassan, or Gilgamesh. I just get to be the oldest. Either one of those, I'll take. Speaking of English exclusives, yeah, right, as I got. I talked about some of the sets that I expected coming out in 2025 earlier, and I'm a little surprised that we only got 3 sets to fill out the rest of the year. I expect there to be a little bit more, but we didn't really get any more information. I was predicting. I mentioned Batman Ninja 2 earlier because Batman Ninja 2 is getting a second movie they announced. But I also know about the sort of the stigma of what happened with that first set, with the canceled pre-orders and it bankrupted like a bunch of stores. But keeping in with the trying to draw in other fandoms, Suicide Squad Isekai started this season.
Yep.
That was my front runner for this was going to be our English exclusive. It was going to be Suicide Squad Isekai. Maybe that we'll still get that, but it's another thing I'll expect to see, or I won't be very surprised. It was ahead of Macross Delta on my bingo card.
Yeah. We got another.
And it would work.
Yeah.
It would work too because we already have the English animation, the Western animation already taken care of for the Weir. So, having another anime set, a proper anime set, be an English exclusive at the end of the year sounds about right and on point for Bouchered's thinking.
Yeah. We will have to see when it comes to that. Get your bingo cards out and ready, and apparently we need to update the bingo sheet. I'm gonna have to go get a different card. So
I have to write mine.
Just start filling it in.
I have an English bingo card and I have a Japanese bingo card, and they're getting really big. We put it that way. we're gonna start playing. We're gonna start playing checkers, and then we're gonna move eventually on to Go.
Just eventually have to get like some people sitting out with like multiple cards sitting out. So
yeah,
but
it's gonna turn into Risk.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. Well, but
all right, we got any closing thoughts?
No, that's gonna be it for me. I am just now I just want to go rewatch Robotech. I'll be real. That's my closing thought.
I want to go rewatch Shauna. I don't think I watched all of Shauna. That's been a hot second. I was like,
yeah,
yo, Shauna's coming out. I don't really have any, besides some weekly stuff. I don't really have anything to binge. I go rewatch Shauna.
I might have to because I need to refresh myself with like the characters and stuff. I remember Shauna and Marjorie. That was it. And I was like,
it's
oh
more
snap.
than me. It's been a minute.
So, and for you, Joker.
I'm gonna go ahead and rewatch Kimono Friends.
I thought you finished that with your girlfriend.
No, we're still.
Or you guys still doing it? Okay.
Still,
you finished
still
Arcware.
It's
That's
a
right.
weekend thing.
There we go.
Okay.
He's gotta
And then
specify.
we're also gonna, while we're at it, we're gonna forget that season 2 existed.
Penguins. Anyway, so
Hanging.
Penguin. All right then. So that is going to be it for us. Big thank you to Joker and Suit for joining me on this crazy ride of massive update for Weiss.
Thank you for having us on, Cade.
It is greatly
Thank
appreciated. Y'all are always more than welcome. We're gonna have to. It'd be great if I could get something started like regular again. Maybe not each week like I used to, but no, I can't do that.
If you want deck profiles, you just want an old man to rant for like 15 minutes about some random topic, just let me know, and I got a bit of time right now.
This man's
okay,
15 minutes.
I will keep it to 15 minutes to get you monetized, and then you can cut off my mic after that.
Just all of a sudden, just the video start just ending. It's like, hey, was that an error? No, that was planned. No.
Yeah.
But and thank you all for anyone who's lasted this long listening to the entire thing. Thank you all very much as well. You can like, you can subscribe. If it's not, it's all good. Thank y'all for stopping by. Enjoy the new upcoming sets. Cry for the Gura players and the soccer players, and we will see y'all next time. Peace out.
Boo hoo.
All for the salt mines.